What is up, YouTube? I'm Gowdite74 here, bringing you our Week 6 game of the APM Lower Tiers League. We are officially halfway through the season, so that is pretty interesting. This week we take on Huff, coach of the New York Metangs. We are going into this game with a 4-1 record, while my opponent is going into this game with an 0-4 record. Now, last week at the end of the video, I did say I was facing off against Muta, but ever since then, Muta, or however you say that, dropped the league, and Huff has been his replacement, so that is how this is going to go. He's also 0-4 because he is a battle behind. He has a few makeup battles to do, and I think he has got one left, but we did our battle first, so in the thumbnail, it will have the actual record once this goes up on Sunday. But anyway, Huff's a really cool dude. He has a really nice revamped team, and it's going to be really scary. I'm not going to lie about it. He's got 3 really annoying mons on his team that really do well against my team, and that's something I definitely have to watch out for. But you guys want to know that? I haven't set his team, as I'm going to go down now and break down his new revamped team. So, Huff's team this week consists of Crocodile Z moves, Crobat, Decidueye, Beware, Fortress, Lycanroc Deo Z moves, Lantern, Barbaracle, Musharna, and Rapidash. Now I expect him to bring out of these 10 consist of Crocodile, Crobat, Decidueye, Beware, Lantern, and Barbaracle. Excuse me. He could bring Fortress over the Beware or the Lantern if he wants to go the Hazard Stack route, but if he doesn't want to go that route, I'm pretty much feeling these 6 because Rapidash I have a good switch-ins for. Musharna doesn't do too much work to my team. Lycanroc Day could be a little bit annoying, but I think the other ones mons on his team are just so much better. And again, Fortress. But the 3 annoying mons I was referring to is the Crocodile, the Crobat, and the Barbaracle. Crobat because I cannot offensively revenge this thing very easily. I can switch into it relatively easily, but revenging is really hard because it outspeeds all of my offensive threats, barring Scarf, which, spoilers, I am bringing a Scarf for this week. But outside of that, Crobat just is a really hard time getting offensive momentum on that thing. Crocodile is like the only ground type in lower tiers that outspeeds me that is remotely a threat to my team because, Blaziken and Roserade hit it hard, but I can't switch into it, and like it's faster, so that is very scary. And if it is a Scarf Crocodile, I'll outspeed Galvantula as well as my general team comp. And then lastly, Mesper has Levitate, but it's also a Dark type, so Mesper doesn't really beat that. And he could run coverage for Togetic as well. So Crocodile has so many options against my team, which is really annoying. But the biggest threat on his team is that Barbaracle. I have really good ways to prevent it from Shell Smashing, but if it does end up getting a Shell Smash up, that is very scary for my team. That thing is stupid scary. It might even just sweep my team if he gets a Shell Smash up. Again, to reiterate, I have pretty good ways to prevent that from happening, but if he does get it up, then it's going to be a really hard time. And with Hazard Stack, that could be a little bit annoying. That's why I could see Fortress coming. But those are the main mons on his team this week. Decidueye and Beware are a little bit annoying, but I can deal with them without them getting too out of hand. So that is going to be Huff's team. The team I am bringing this week consists of Blaziken, Licky, Galvantula, Empoleon, Roserade, and Togetic. So as I just mentioned, the first mon we are bringing this week is going to be our Choice Scarfed Blaziken. Blaziken is rocking out with max attack, 18 HP, and 176 speed with a naive nature. Moves being Flare Blitz, Superpower, Earthquake, and Vacuum Wave. I needed a Scarf on this team somewhere. I was going back and forth between Roserade and Blaziken, though I was pretty settled on Blaziken early on in building. This is possibly the most important mon on the team because it outspeeds max speed everything on his team barring any other Scarfers or anything that's speed boosted or whatever. Blaziken is really good against his team. I just have to be really careful what moves I lock into because Scarf, like Flare Blitz, like nukes Fortress, nukes Decidueye, but Lycanroc Day and Barbaracle particularly can take Flare Blitz relatively easily. While Superpower hits a lot of other things, but then Crobat can switch in really easily. So I have to definitely be careful about what I lock into. Earthquake for Lantern, and Vacuum Wave because Lycanroc Day is very scary, and if it gets like... I need priority to beat something. Oh, Barbaracle, that's what it was for. The Shell Smash Barbaracle, so I Vacuum Wave for that if I chip it down enough. That was the reason I ran that. I run Vacuum Wave a lot more than I thought I would. Same with like Scarf Crocodile, if it's low, I could Vacuum Wave it, and then that's why I'm running priority on Scarf. But it just runs through his team. It's going to clean and make sure nothing gets out of hand. So that is the first mon, Blaziken. Next up, we have Licky. Licky is rocking out with the Rocky Helmet. Max HP, max defense with a relaxed nature. With the Oblivious ability, it moves being Wish, Protect, Ice Beam, and Bulldoze. This is a nice little tech. I ran Bulldoze because if like this prevents Barbaracle from really setting up on me, I can Bulldoze it down. It'll do a decent amount. It does like 35 to 40-ish%. And at that point, I have Rocky Helmet damage because, Barbaracle contact moves. And then I can just revenge it with Vacuum Wave or whatever. And with Bulldoze, I don't even have to lock myself into Vacuum Wave if that's the case. And it's the same thing for Lycanroc Day. If I end up in that situation, I got Bulldoze, and thus I can revenge it. Granted, Lycanroc Day gets a Cell Rock, which will still do a lot if it's boosted, if that even comes. But that is that. And for Rapidash as well. This is my main Rapidash switching. And it's a nice switch into Crocodile as well. This thing really switches into a lot of things. Ice Beam kind of nukes Crocodile, and Crobat does a lot. It does decent bit to Decidueye, not as much as I would like it to, but that is the Licky set. It's mainly here as a big physical wall for the Barbaracle and the Crocodile, and I guess the Rapidash if it ends up coming. Our third mon of the week is going to be our Breaker, which is going to be Galvantula. Galvantula is rocking out with max special attack at 232 speed with a Timid Nature with the Wise Glasses, moves being Volt Switch, Thunder, Bug Buzz, and Giga Drain. We are bringing no Sticky Webs Galvantula. I felt like my speed control with the Scarf, Bulldoze, Vacuum Wave was already really solid enough. So I decided I didn't really need Sticky Webs. I went with Giga Drain because I could stay in on Lantern and Giga Drain a lot of health back because, Lantern, fat HP. So that's pretty cool. Volt Switch and Thunder, it's really free against this team because his only electric immunity is the Lantern and the Crocodile. Bug Buzz just nukes Crocodile, and if Crocodile's Scarf, it only OHKOs me with Stone Edge, I think. I think that's the only move. Maybe Rock Slide and Fire Fang, but I think it's just Stone Edge, to be completely honest, if I'm at full health, of course. And then Lantern, it's not really a problem. I can Giga Drain it and just weaken it down because Lantern doesn't get reliable recovery. And then everything else is just a Volt Spam against his team. It's meant to just come in a lot and break his team with constant Volt Spam or Thunder. It's just going to hit really hard. Crobat cannot switch into it. Crobat does outspeed Galvantula, but it doesn't really want to be switching in unless it has to predict that or something like that. If Decidueye comes in, I can Volt out and get momentum on it. So that is going to be the Galvantula. Our fourth mon of the week is going to be Empoleon. Empoleon is rocking out with max HP, 196 defense with a bold nature, and 64 on speed. With the leftovers, moves being Rocks, Defog, Toxic, Scald. This is my switch into Fortress every single time. This is to make sure that Fortress doesn't hazard stack my team because that could be very annoying. Rocks to make sure that Crobat doesn't get too out of hand. It's also my main Crobat switch-in, and it's also my main Fortress and Crobat switch-in, as I just said that. I can Scald things down, do a lot, get potential burns, all that good stuff. This is the reason why Crobat wasn't the most scariest on his team, because unless he's got Super Fang, he's not doing anything to this thing, so I can just break it down that way. And I have Toxic for Decidueye, so I can actually stay in on Decidueye and Toxic that thing. And the same with Barbaracle. I get either Toxic or Scald, depending on the situation. But that is going to be our Empoleon. Our fifth mon is something I was really debating on. It is going to be Roserade. Roserade rocking out with Black Sludge, max special attack, modest nature, 188 speed, and 64 in HP. Moves being Energy Ball, Hidden Power Fire, Leech Seed, and Spikes. This is the only coverage I needed. I decided that I know Crobat is probably going to be the switch in every single time to this thing, so at least I'll get a Spike up on it if I want to predict that, or a Leech Seed, one of the two. That's why I decided to go this route in the end. Roserade isn't so important in this game, but it's still nice to give the team support. Energy Ball does a lot because his team's kind of grass weak, to be honest, though a lot of things also outspeed Roserade. Roserade can live a lot of any one hits, but it's still kind of eh. And HP Fire, so Fortress doesn't completely wall me out. And HP Fire also does a lot to Beware because of Fluffy, so I don't really have to worry about that too much either. Again, Spike support is really nice. Lead Sheet possibly for a potential Empoleon switch in or whatever later on. That could be really nice. And again, Barbaracle can't switch in on this thing, so yeah. That is going to be the Roserade. And finally, we have Togetic. Togetic is rocking out with the Eviole, max HP, 244 defense with a bold nature, and 16 in speed. Moves being Dazzling Gleam, Ancient Power, Toxic Roost. This is the one thing that Barbaracle could probably set up on because all I have for it is really toxic, so that's a little scary. But this is my main switch into Crocodile and the Rapidash as well as another mon, Beware, that was it. Beware is kind of scary to switch into. I can offensively beat it pretty easily with a little bit of chip, but switching into it wasn't that easy, so Togetic is my main switch into that, as well as Crocodile, though I do have to be careful of knockoff Crocodile and then later on like a Stone Edge because that will do a load of damage. So I definitely have to be careful of that. This does get hardwalled by Fortress, but Fortress is not really a problem whatsoever. And D-Gleam spam is just kind of nice against his team. And Ancient Power, if I so happen to, against Rapidash, I could get a boost, a little cheeky boost, and then I could just wall his team. That would be pretty lit, but I don't see that happening. And that is actually going to be the team. Pretty excited to use this team. Galvantula and breaking roll, or just kind of spam Galvantula offensively around his team. That's kind of the role there. It's going to be an interesting game, especially with Roserade against the Crobat. But anyway, we're going to move over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here on Pokemon Showdown, and I am seeing that he brought all of the threats, so that is very scary. And he did bring the Fortress, so he might try and Spike Stack me and then try and sweep with anything on his team. So I'm going to lead off with Galvantula just to get a free Volt Switch off, and if he leads with Crocodile, I can just Bug Buzz that thing. I don't think he'll lead off with Lycanroc, so that thing was not too scary off a lead. So Galvantula comes out, as he does decide to lead off with the Crocodile, and it does have Intimidate. It doesn't really matter. Here, it reveals to be Scarf, and he clicks Beat Up. That is a Very interesting tech on my opponent's part, as it's going to hit all 6 times because it's Scarf and all 6 Mons of his teams are alive. But I do live the hit, and I absolutely cook this Crocodile back with Bug Buzz. So turn 1, we learn that it'll Scarf Crook, and it goes down. Here he goes down to Lycanroc, and Lycanroc is naturally faster than Galvantula. Volt Search is really nice against his team, but I didn't want to switch in my Empoleon on the drill run because Empoleon is really good late game if I can get rid of the Beware and this thing now because it's Swords Dance. So that's why I did that in the end. I went to Licky Licky, and this way I click Bulldoze, so at least for like Rose Raid and Blaziken, he's going to be forced to be clicking Accelerock as opposed to Stone Edge on those things, and I can outspeed them. I was expecting the Z move on this thing, so I didn't click Protect because if he had clicked Swords Dance again, then Accelerock could be a serious threat to Rose Raid and Blaziken. So that's why I decided to not click Protect and click Bulldoze again. It does knock me out. I think it was a roll, but it's not really. It doesn't really matter. Now I can go out in the Blaziken and Revenge Kill this thing because I am Scarf. He is going to click Accelerock. It's going to do half. I'm not clicking Vacuum Wave because though I would out-prioritize him, it doesn't kill from that range, so that's why I did that. As Superpower knocks out this Lycanroc, so turn 5, it's 4-4 already. I don't think he was going to risk that Crobat on the Lycanroc either. He could have, but I really doubted it. Here I go into Empoleon because it's a free switch in into Crobat, and I learned that he doesn't have Super Fang, so that's really nice. And now he goes down to Beware, and since the Crocodile is gone now, Togetic is only here just for this Beware, as I am going to switch right out into the Togetic, as the Beware also has Swords Dance, so that's very scary. And now I'm going to click D-Gleam. This thing is faster than me, and it does over half. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then I click D-Gleam here, and you're going to see it does 39%. That means it's a pretty bulky Beware. I learned after the game it's max but def with a careful nature. And now I live on 1%, because this thing does not have any attack investment. Or if it's got a little bit or something. And getting this damage off is pretty big. This is an unnerved Beware as opposed to Fluffy. And at the time of the battle, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. Like, I knew he didn't have Fluffy, and the way Fluffy works is, like, fire moves are doubled against it, but the defense is boosted. So I was like, oh, I can't go into Rose Raid here because HP Fire won't kill now. So I go into Blaziken, right? But I end up clicking, as you're going to see here, I click a Superpower instead of Flare Blitz. And it's kind of a questionable play. He could have went to Crobat. That could have been big. It didn't really matter in the end, but Flare Blitz would have picked up the kill because of the Fluffy boost is not there. He doesn't get the defense boost, so it still do around the same damage. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Beware went down. I switched into my Empoleon on this Crobat because Empoleon's a free switch in every single time. Now the only obstacle left is to make sure this Barbaracle does not set up on me. So I do click Scald here as he U-turns out into the Fortress. He doesn't want to risk the Scald burn, so that's really smart on my opponent's part. I could have clicked Rocks there because damage on this Fortress is not too important. As long as I can break that Sturdy, it's not that big. So what I should have done here, instead of Scalding the Fortress again, was click Rocks, but it's whatever, as he does end up Volt Switching out, which was something I was a little scared of, so that sucks. Now he's going to go into the Barbaracle, and here's the big threat. I'm just going to Scald this thing because I just need damage on it. And Scald's going to do a decent chunk as he clicks the Cross Chop. Thank God he does not get a crit because Cross Chop's got a high crit ratio. I click Scald, it does a load, and it burns him. I get another burn in this game. That's the second Scald. I click Scald 3 times, 2 burns. That sucks. But now I'm going to go into Rose Raid because Empoleon's still really important for that Crobat as he does miss a Cross Chop on the switch-in. It wouldn't have done as much because it's burned now. It does really suck, but now I can fire off a Lead Sheet expecting the Crobat to come out, but he does make a good middle ground play and goes out into the Fortress. But it doesn't matter, I can click HP Fire the next turn because Crobat switching into an HP Fire won't really appreciate it because it is Technician boosted. It is an Akaberry Fortress, but at this point it doesn't really matter. So Fortress is going to go down. And now it's looking pretty good, but Empoleon is low, so this Crobat could be very scary. I decided to stay in to make sure this thing doesn't pull any shenanigans, as he does overpredict and clicks U-turn there. So that was really big, as Barbaracle's now in on my Rose Raid, and he can't really afford... He could switch into Crobat, but then he's just taking chip after chip. As he shows to be Scarf here. This thing is actually Scarf, because he outspeeds my Rose Raid. Because I'm burnt, because he's burnt, I mean, he does not knock me out, so that's unfortunate. But at that point in the at this point in the battle, I would have just came in with Blaziken, and Flare Blitz would have been able to just knock out. As here, I'm just going to try and make sure this thing doesn't like set up like a substitute or whatever on me, and I can get a little bit more recoil. Flare Blitz from my Blaziken to the Crobat does like 74 to like 88 or something like that, so I do want a little bit of chip on it. That's why I go out into Empoleon first, just to click Scald. Another Brave Bird will take me out, but at least this will give me the damage. But I get another burn, so at this point, it's definitely GG, because I can just click Scald again and live the Brave Bird. Yeah, the Scald burns really suck. That 3, I went, what, 3 for 4, or whatever, 3 for 5, whatever. Yeah, I got Scald burns on my first try every time, so I apologize to Huff so much for that. But regardless, we are going to pick up a 2-0 win, but GG to Huff. Looking back at it, the hacks definitely wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but it still is mentally aggravating for, like, hacks to take part of the battle, and it definitely affects my opponent's mindset during the game. So again, apologies for the huff for that. But regardless, we do take those wins. We are going to move up to a 5-1 record, as we have reached the halfway point of the season, and being 5-1 and plus 18 is actually much better than I expected to. Being my first ever lower tier league, I wasn't sure what to expect, especially it's my first time using a lot of these mods before. I've never used Galvantula in draft before, so I was very shocked that this is happening. I'm very happy about it. But we are still third in the league despite being 5-1. And speaking of which, next week we take on Puffer, coach of the Long Island Side Ducks. That could be wrong. But he is 5-0, so he's in front of us. I'm not sure how much we're going to be trying next week because he could be a playoff opponent. I don't want to reveal my full team to him, so I'm not sure yet. We're going to see that for next week, but that's next week. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.